The house at 47 Rosewood Lane looked like every other house on the street. Neatly trimmed hedges, cream-painted walls, and a porch swing that creaked softly when the evening wind passed through. To outsiders, it was a place of routine and quiet respectability. A house where lights went out by 10, where neighbors waved politely, where nothing ever seemed wrong. But crimes rarely announced themselves with sirens and screams. More often, they lived quietly, behind closed doors. Inspector Adil Khan had learned long ago not to trust appearances. 20 years in the city police force had taught him that the cleanest homes sometimes hid the dirtiest secrets. He stood across the street from 47 Rosewood Lane, rain dripping from the brim of his coat, studying the house like it might blink if he stared long enough. Inside, a man was dead. The call had come in just after 6 a.m. A welfare check requested by a neighbor who hadn't seen the homeowner, Samir Qureshi, in 3 days. Samir was a 48-year-old accountant, married, no criminal record. Quiet, predictable, harmless, according to everyone who knew him. Predictable men, Adil knew, were often the hardest to understand. The front door had been locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. Samir's body lay in the living room, seated neatly on the sofa, as if he had simply dozed off and never woken up. Cause of death: a single gunshot wound to the chest. No gun found. Adil crossed the street, ducked under the yellow tape, and stepped onto the porch. The door was already open now. Evidence markers scattered across the floor like silent witnesses. "Morning, Inspector," said Sub-Inspector Farah Malik, looking up from her notes. "It's strange. It always is," Adil replied. "Tell me." The living room smelled faintly of coffee and gunpowder. The curtains were drawn, blocking out the morning sun. Samir Qureshi sat upright on the sofa, his head tilted slightly to the left, eyes half open. There was no sign of struggle, no overturned furniture, no blood splatter beyond the neat, dark stain spreading across his white shirt. "He was shot at close range," Farah said, "but there's no exit wound, bullets still inside, and no weapon, none so far. We searched the house twice." Adil looked around. Family photographs lined the walls. Samir with his wife Ayesha smiling at various events, vacations, weddings, a picture. Perfect life. "Where's the wife?" Adil asked. "Out of town, visiting her parents in Lahore. She returned this morning when we contacted her." As if summoned by the question, Ayesha Qureshi appeared at the doorway. She was in her early 40s, dressed in a simple black shawl, her face pale and drawn. Her eyes were dry. Too dry, Adil thought. "I want to see him," she said quietly. Farah hesitated, then looked at Adil. "Let her," he said. Ayesha walked slowly toward the sofa. She knelt beside her husband's body, touching his hand. Her fingers trembled, but she did not cry. "I told him this would happen," she whispered. Adil's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" he asked gently. She looked up at him, startled, as if she had forgotten she wasn't alone. "Nothing," she said quickly. "I mean, life is unpredictable." Adil didn't press her. Yet, some doors needed time before they could be opened. The neighbors were eager to talk. Too eager. Samir Qureshi had been polite, distant, almost invisible. He left for work at 8, returned by 7. Never hosted parties. Never argued loudly. Such a nice man. Mrs. Raza from next door said. Always said salam. Always paid his bills on time. "Did you ever hear arguments?" Adil asked. She hesitated. "Well, sometimes at night, but nothing serious." "What kind of arguments?" "Low voices, behind closed doors," she said, lowering her own voice instinctively. Adil thanked her and moved on. Behind closed doors, the phrase stuck with him like a splinter. The autopsy confirmed what Adil suspected. Samir had been killed between 10 p.m. and midnight. He had eaten dinner shortly before his death. The bullet was traced to a licensed handgun, registered to Ayesha Qureshi. When Adil received the report, he sat silently for a long moment, staring at the paper. Spousal homicide was common enough, but something here felt staged. He requested Ayesha's phone records, financial statements, and security footage from nearby houses. Patterns began to emerge. Samir had been withdrawing large sums of money over the past 6 months. Not enough to raise alarms, but enough to notice. Transfers to offshore accounts, cash withdrawals late at night. Adil followed the money trail, and it led somewhere unexpected. A private investigation firm. Ayesha Qureshi sat across from Adil in the interrogation room, hands folded neatly in her lap. "Your husband hired a private investigator," Adil said calmly. "Do you know why?" She stiffened. "No, he thought you were hiding something." Her eyes flashed with anger. He was paranoid. Was he wrong? Silence. "Ayesha," Adil said softly, "your gun killed your husband. I need you to help me understand why." She laughed suddenly, a short, bitter sound. "You think this is simple. I think nothing is simple." She leaned forward. "Do you know what it's like to live with a man who smiles in public and terrifies you in private?" Adil didn't answer. "Samir wasn't the man you think he was." She continued. "Behind closed doors, he was cruel, controlling. He monitored my calls, my emails. He decided what I wore, where I went. He said it was love." "Did he hit you?" Adil asked. "No, that would leave marks." She met his gaze. He was smarter than that. Psychological abuse, Adil thought. Hard to prove, easy to hide, but that still doesn't explain why he's dead. He said. She leaned back, eyes glistening now. "Because I wasn't the only one trapped. The private investigator Samir had hired was found 2 days later, alive, but terrified. He was afraid of something," the investigator admitted. "Samir suspected his wife was involved in something illegal. I didn't find evidence against her, but I found something else." "What?" Adil asked. The investigator swallowed. "Samir was blackmailing people, powerful people. He used his accounting job to manipulate records, hide money. Then he threatened to expose them." Adil felt the pieces shifting. Did Ayesha know? "She found out recently," the investigator said. "She came to me. She was scared. Samir told her if she ever left him, he'd frame her." Adil leaned back. The victim was becoming the villain, but someone still pulled the trigger. Adil said. The security footage from a house 2 doors down showed a shadowy figure entering Samir's house at 9:47 p.m. and leaving at 10:15 p.m. The figure was tall, broad-shouldered, not Ayesha. Adil ran facial recognition, traffic cameras, and license plate scans. The trail led to a man named Cameron Siddiq, a real estate developer with a criminal past carefully buried under layers of money and influence. Samir had been blackmailing him. Cameron was arrested quietly. In custody, he confessed without much resistance. "I didn't mean to kill him," Cameron said. "I just wanted the files." "What happened?" Adil asked. He refused, said, "I had no choice." Cameron's voice shook. "He handed me the gun, told me I wouldn't dare. He was wrong. Samir had orchestrated his own death, or at least believed he was untouchable, but Cameron had pulled the trigger." Ayesha was released without charges. Adil watched her walk out of the station, her face turned toward the sky as if breathing freely for the first time in years. "You knew he was dangerous," Adil said quietly as he walked beside her. "Why didn't you leave?" She smiled sadly. "Because prisons don't always have bars, Inspector. Some are built with fear." He nodded. The house at 47 Rosewood Lane was sold 3 months later. New curtains, fresh paint. A new family moved in. From the outside, nothing seemed different. But Adil knew better. Every house had a story. Every wall had heard secrets. And every closed door hid a truth someone was afraid to face. He walked away, rain beginning to fall again, already chasing the next shadow. Another crime waiting patiently behind closed doors.